Well, good evening and welcome to our third installation of the video series, Faith and Consciousness. We've been talking about habits in the past two occasions, and so tonight we're going to reach our final third part of the series on patterns. And it's a great segue for next week, where we begin a new series on emotional intelligence. I want to welcome all of you to Faith and Consciousness, and I want to thank all of you who have been supporting and encouraging others, sharing the videos, subscribing, giving thumbs up. Every time you give a thumbs up, you're actually helping the algorithm of YouTube to distribute and to make this video more accessible. So I ask you, if you like the content, if you feel that what we're talking about is really making a difference in your life, to really think about maybe helping me out and giving me a thumbs up and letting other people know about the video and letting other people know about the series. This is the best way, word of mouth. And I'm really excited about tonight because we're going to have an opportunity to finally ask ourselves, so what's the actual method that we can employ so that we can undo these patterns? The first program was a summary, an introduction, obviously, to understand what those patterns are, where they come from. Why do they dominate and influence our thoughts and our behaviors and our emotional connection to it all? And that's important. It gives us something to start talking about. It gave us something to reflect on and to really begin the inner conversation, and that with other people. The second part was, now how do we, once we are going to dismantle those habits, which is what we're going to learn tonight, how do we implement a method of self-regulation, of self-directed behavior, where we can self-disclose, where we can regulate, oversee what we're doing, provide that responsible and wise oversight, so that whenever we find ourselves kind of falling back into the old patterns, we can nip it in the bud and just automatically go back and, again, continue with the process of becoming the best version of ourselves. And that's really what Faith and Consciousness is all about. I want to remind all of you, if this is your first time joining the series and joining me on this journey, I want to welcome you and thank you for doing that, becoming part of the community, where faith is not about having all of the answers, but it's learning how to live with the questions. And that is what we're doing tonight. But what we're also encouraging everyone to do in this program is to ensure that we make a commitment to become the best version of ourselves, and to really pursue becoming a highly evolved being, an individual that really is here with the understanding, the precise understanding, and the real sense of personal value and worth, to be able to do and be all that we were created to do and be a blessing both to ourselves and to others, and to see, slowly but surely, the transformation of communities, of families, of ourselves, of our relationships, making everything deeper, more meaningful, more profound, and at the end of the day, holy, because I believe that all lives are sacred and every journey is sacred. And so I want to welcome you to that conversation and to that thought. I want to invite you to invite yourself to consider that you're sacred, that your journey is, and that you are priceless. And if we begin there, then what I'm going to talk about tonight is going to be very easy, and it's going to be empowering. And that's really where I want to begin. So we've talked about what these patterns and habits are. Remember, we said that patterns really come as a result of socialization, of us adopting others, the narrative of others, the way that others see us, their own story projecting it onto us, their own expectations about what we could, should, and how far we're really going to get, and why we shouldn't even think about that, because that's not like for people like myself, etc. And so we look at patterns and we realize that in many cases we're on autopilot, and we're allowing these patterns to just really dictate and guide us. And so whatever thoughts we have are not really independent, wise, and profound thoughts, but rather they are a response to the pattern really dominating our lives. And if we stop and we really begin to analyze the pattern, we'll realize that it comes with a thought, it comes with a corresponding action and a feeling. And so it fulfills what should be a response, a thought, and a feeling. But it's not our own. And it's not something that we've really invested time reflecting on. We've never dissected it. We've never unpacked it. We've never really asked ourselves, am I the owner of this thought? Am I the owner of these feelings? Am I the owner of this action? And if I am, why do I feel the way that I do? Why do I think the way that I do? And why do I act the way that I do? And so when we're going to isolate a particular pattern, something that we know isn't good for us, we've exercised self-disclosure, we've been forthcoming, we've said to ourselves in this inner conversation, I know that I shouldn't do this. I know I shouldn't be thinking this way. I know that I feel this way, and it's just an ongoing, recurring theme. I really need to address it. So we go through this conversation, and it may sound something like that, or it may sound differently. But what I do want you to know is that when you do self-disclosure, you're going to be honest, transparent. You're going to be authentic about whatever needs you know, recognized and accepted. They have to be accepted, recognized and accepted, that these are things that you need to work on, okay? And so when you say, yeah, definitely, I have an issue with anger, or I have an issue with worry, or, I tend to see things very pessimistically, or I don't really see myself as being someone capable of doing A, B, and C, because I've heard people always say this about me, or a teacher said this about me, or whatever the case may be. At least you know where to begin. And then here's another thought that I want to add to this. If you believe yourself to be of high value, and this is why we go back to this conversation about where are you in the self-esteem process? Where are you in the self-worth process? Where are you in terms of looking at yourself, overall self-concept, and determining where you are? We had talked about self-esteem as being something that's really based on comparisons. There's someone that's faster than me, right? There's someone smarter. I'm dumb because of this or because of that. This person, that person. We compare ourselves to other people. But when we come to self-worth, it's not comparison, it's appraisal. We appraise ourselves as we would property or a house or anything, a car, a piece of jewelry, a family heirloom. We appraise ourselves and we give ourselves a price. And the truth of the matter is that if we give ourselves a pretty high price, if we appraise ourselves as being high value, then chances are we're going to invest in ourselves, because we're going to see that the return is going to be high as well. So whatever risk I'm going to take is guaranteed to give me a pretty substantial return. But by the way, I'm worth it. You see, my value is up here. But if I do a certain appraisal of myself and I recognize, according to my understanding of my expectations and standards based on these patterns, based on these thoughts and so forth, that my self-worth is right down here, then chances are that I'm not going to invest in myself, because it doesn't seem like a good investment. It doesn't seem like it's worth the time, the effort, the risk, the energy. And by the way, even if I was going to invest, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a very high return. Now, it doesn't sound very spiritual. It doesn't sound very, very, very eloquent, sadly. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, most of us usually give ourselves a value that does not represent the uniqueness and the beauty and the pricelessness that we possess. It's certainly not the way that we really are seen. And I take this license to say the way that we're not seen, because I really believe that what breaks us out of these habits and patterns, and you may disagree with me, but what I have found in my life, in my practice, in the years that I've been involved in this whole process of human potential and self-improvement, of spirituality, of wisdom teaching, of guiding, of mentoring, and of coaching, being a guru, if you want to say, the fact of the matter is that I have found that spirituality is the avenue that gives us the vocabulary, it gives us the tools to ask ourselves these really deep questions, and to come to terms with the fact that we're not here by coincidence. We're not here by accident. And so if we're not here in an arbitrary way, if we're here right now, and all of you that are listening to me and me doing all of this, this is not by chance. This is not simply because I wanted to. I believe that there's a reason for this. This is a significant meaning behind this time that we spend together. And so I believe that if you're listening to this, it's because you yourself believe that you're worth it. You want to believe that. And that's the place to start. So if you believe yourself, and if you guide yourself to understand that you really are priceless, you are a high value individual, then you'll be willing to take the risk, commit to the change and to the difficult process, because it is one. I've never been anything but authentic with you guys and gals. This is a difficult process. It's one that takes time. It's one that sometimes we feel we're not even going ahead. It feels like we're falling back. But like all things that are good, and like all things that are really, really valuable, they take time. They take time. And they take patience. And we live in a time where we want everything to happen yesterday. But true spiritual growth, profound psychological, emotional, and mental development, getting to the point to where we become the best version of ourselves, takes time. And it takes a community. And it takes patience. And it takes self-liking and self-love. It takes oversight. And it takes grace. It takes forgiveness. And so when we find those patterns, we then have to ask ourselves, once we've arrived at, now I know why I do it. I've been honest with myself and I know where this thought comes from. I'm honest with myself and I know why I feel the way that I do. And now I understand why I act the way that I do. There has to be an option. So what's the alternative? So if I'm going to start opening myself up to the possibility of not having as many expectations, and I'm going to really try to be present, how can I do that? If I've never had the vocabulary, I've never had the practice. Well, one of the things that you have to do is give yourself the invitation to try. And say things such as, I'm going to invite myself. I'm going to give myself the opportunity, which is perhaps something you've never said to yourself before. I'm going to give myself the opportunity. I'm going to give myself the invitation to try today to see the world positively. And rather than only look at the things that confirm that life is negative, pessimistic, I'm going to give myself the invitation to look at things as they are, appreciate them for what they are, and not impose an expectation of what they need to be. And I will say this to you. It seems counterintuitive. It may even seem strange. But if you begin to do that, you'll actually see yourself having a significant amount of weight getting and falling off of your shoulders. Because you go into the day tense already. You go into the day already expecting to be what you've already determined that day to be. You've never given yourself the invitation. You've never given yourself the opportunity to just appreciate the day for what the day gives you with no strings attached. And to safeguard yourself from the expectations that confirm, because you're going to look for the things to confirm the way that you already think the world is going to be. If it happens to be anger, for instance, one of the things that I would recommend is to realize as you do self-disclosure that the root of all anger is hurt. So why do I feel hurt? What's been done to me? And I need to reiterate this from other recordings, that the idea behind this, rejected as it may be by some of you initially, but when you think about it, you may actually come to terms with the fact of realizing that forgiveness is not about letting the other person off the hook. It's really about you. That when you forgive someone for what they did to you, you're not saying that they're okay or that what they did is fine. Life is going to deal with them. But what you're simply saying is you refuse to allow whatever they did to continue to have power over you. Allowing yourself then to enjoy the freedom to no longer be offended, trespassed again and again and again. The moment you forgive that individual, their power no longer extends to you. It's done. Allowing yourself then to heal from the hurt and process the anger, but not just respond to it because you haven't gone to the root of it. These are not overnight antidotes. These are not recipes for in 24 hours you're highly developed, highly evolved. No. This takes time. But once you have the language and you have the information, then you can really start taking those step by step, those baby steps, day by day, step by step. And I'm going to leave you with a brief thought that I'll put in the the comments and the information about this video that you can take with you as a mantra. And I want to invite all of you to consider that if you want to talk more about this, send me an email. If you want to reach out and you're 18 and older and you can, and you're thinking about maybe talking to a spiritual director or a life coach or whatnot, send me an email and look at my website and get a sense, because maybe there's more conversation we can have about your one particular case, and it will be beneficial for you. Final thought about habits is that habits, although we may empathize with others who have similar ones, our patterns are unique. Our patterns are unique because we are. And those patterns have a particular place. They help us, quote unquote, to make sense of the world. But remember that sometimes we don't perceive reality. We want to interpret it. Perceiving reality allows reality to be present in our lives the way it is, subjectively, obviously. And then after we perceive it, once we've allowed reality to unfold before us, then we can draw certain conclusions. But what most of us do is that we go into the process of living already concluding that these are the things that are going to happen because this is the way that people are, and because these are the things that have happened to me in the past, so therefore they're more than likely going to happen again. It's interesting how many of us really desire to be free, and yet we don't really have to even allow God to predestine or to predetermine anything, because we do a good job doing that for ourselves. So if we really want to be free, then let's focus on being the very best version we can be, by allowing ourselves to enjoy the day, to just perceive reality, to see it for what it is, and then to be able to interpret it, but not make pre-existing determinations and prejudices and preconceived notions be what guide us, because then we're not free. In fact, we're just then kind of following a script that guarantees, in many ways, to have a very low self-esteem, a very poor appreciation of our own person, of what we can be and what we can do for ourselves and for others. Give ourselves, let us invite and enjoy ourselves and realize that we're here for a wonderful reason. Yes, there are challenges. Yes, there is pain. Yes, there is suffering. But if we begin to seek to live lives with meaning, it will really mean and provide a significance that we have never even begun to appreciate or fathom. It starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with just simply being honest and asking myself and yourself, what do I need to change? I know I need to. Let me take the first step, because the first step begins with me, begins with you. And together, we'll evolve, we'll transform, and we'll leave this world slightly better than the way that we found it. Always remember, let someone one day tell you, you're too good for this world. Can you imagine what we could do if we were all too good for this world? Then we would leave some good behind. And that is the goal, that we are examples so that others may emulate and find in their own lives the joy and the meaning that we found in ours. I hope this has been a blessing to all of you. I hope this has been helpful. And again, it's a very individual process. There's no formula per se. It's really the idea of awareness. When we come to a point of awareness of who we are and our patterns and our behaviors, and we see ourselves as very valuable people who we should invest in, we should invest time, invest patience and grace, because we're worth it, then we will see the transformation. And if we're not there, then reach out to people like myself and reach out and ask yourself, why is that so difficult for you to see yourself as a highly valued person? If I can help you, I'll be more than happy to. But the question there really is, your thoughts, your emotions are prohibiting you, and your actions are sabotaging you. If you at least recognize that, you're starting the journey. Invest in yourself. Don't have expectations. Give yourself the opportunity to break the cycle. And finally, maybe for once, be free. Have a wonderful evening. Peace to all of you. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you again for your support, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care. Bye-bye.